What's your thank god that's over with and I never have to do it again thing in your life? Working in a restaurant. I spent 10 years of my life in that business, both serving and managing. 5 years and 40k in debt later, I finally just started my new career. No offense to anyone that works in the industry or truly loves it, but I came to despise the hospitality business. I could feel it sucking the energy from my soul. I used to work in this absolute crap medical job. It was the absolute worst because there wasn't a single good thing about it. The people I worked with were crap. The people I interacted with were crap. You could go into that place at 5 AM happy as can be and leave the place after 6 failed bathroom musings just to try again the next day. But when I put in my 2 weeks, those feelings amped up to 11. It was like everyone who was crap the entire time I was there decided it wasn't enough and leaned into it. Like you got a heaven pass to leave heck and all the demons were pee that you're getting out and they have to stay behind so they claw at you the whole way out in hopes that you die before you leave. Frick hospitals, man. I worked for 2 weeks in a call center and the entire time I spent staring at my desk. I did this for 10 hours a day because the company president was out of the office and they refused to get me set up with a password or let me browse the web etc etc. After 2 weeks, I came back the following Monday, started my day and then with nothing changing, I just walked out of the building and went home. My car was broken down at the time, so it took several hours to get home. Glad that is over and done with. No way I'll ever work in another call center. I did 1.5 years at Comcast. Frick that job so much. When I got in my accident I just wanted to be independent again. Had to move back home with my mom and stay in the main floor cause of my wheelchair. They said I'd never walk again. Lots of hard work later, I walk unaided most days. 5 years later I'm fully independent and living in my own place with the love of my life. Yes, I do not miss the wheelchair, the walker, the stupid cane, or physical therapy. I still cry sometimes remembering the day my ortho doctor said it may never full heal. I ran 2 miles today. Being addicted to H and being homeless. I'm 2 years clean with a family of my own and a place to call home. I left that life and I'll never look back. This is what I scrolled through looking for. H withdraw is something so horrific I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy or Satan himself. And you really can truly explain the experience unless you've felt it. I'm happy you're doing better now. I am still on my way. Caring for an elderly than dying parent. My mom was relatively young when she developed liver cancer, 58, and I would take my kids to school and then go to her house and care for her, buy her groceries and meds, take her to chemo and do housework. I'd go pick up my kids and depending on what shift my husband was working I'd either go back until her boyfriend got home or come back the next day. Eventually wound up changing her diapers and sponge bathing her. Read to her when she couldn't talk anymore. About 6 months after she died, my father-in-law went into the hospital and when he came out, moved into our house. He was a really difficult person to live with and an even more stubborn patient. He lived with us for almost 7 years. He passed at 90, getting more and more ornery and crazy. I took care of him medically and emotionally, cleaned his room and fed him until he had a heart attack and didn't tell anyone about it for a couple of days. Came out of the hospital in hospice and the last couple of weeks I walked him around the house until he couldn't walk anymore. Pushed him in his chair until he couldn't sit anymore. And then rolled him over every couple of hours. Changed his catheter bag. Gave him his meds and took care of all the family and friends. And their kids, who came to visit him. I'm all out of parents-in-laws, grandparents and the one good thing is I don't have to do that again. Don't know if I could. It's so done hard. Thank you all for such nice replies. I think the thought that kept me going the most was how I was going to feel about myself when they were gone. Did I act in a way that I could live with and not feel guilty? I have absolutely zero regrets in how I treated my parents and that's probably the most freeing thing about their passing. Another coping mechanism was swearing, loudly and creatively where nobody could hear me, and an overly dramatic double middle finger flip off to a closed door. Thank you again for all the nice thoughts and I hope everyone who has to care for compromised loved ones makes it through relatively unscathed. 3. You're a good person X. As of yesterday morning, I passed the most extensive and difficult of my 3 professional licensure exams, and I had this exact thought as I sat in my car outside of the testing center shedding tears of relief. I've been studying for my licensure exams in every free moment since January of this year. Now all I have to do is submit the extensive documentation needed and wait for board approval. Thank God that's over with and I never have to do it again. Congrats. Running a marathon. Mentally it fricked with me and beat me down. I am a very slow runner and they had opened the roads back up and the course was no longer marked. They kept finish line up. I was heartbroken and embarrassed that I was literally last. I also didn't know the official course, so I ended up running 27 miles. I was determined to finish, but I will never do that again. Checked off the bucket list. ETA. Holy crap. Y'all are amazing and the love and comments is amazing. I can be my own worst critic, but everyone is right. I finished. My hubs likes to remind me that I was one of 400 people that ran a marathon that day, and one of the 0.5% of the population that has ever completed one. Thanks to all. You think you're the slowest, but you're also the one who was running for the longest amount of time. That seems like an impressive featuring of endurance. Breaking up with the girl who was obsessed with me, it was more like skinning myself rather than tearing a band-aid off. Can't believe someone would be obsessed with a guy named Mr. Stinky Butt. Child custody court. Frickin' run mother wanted a child and a check and didn't want me to see our kid. Fortunately, the judge saw otherwise, but the process took 2 years and lots of manipulation by the mother. Now that he's grown, he wants nothing to do with his mother. Whoa, that's just like mine. Except I was the child in this case and I tried to get away from my mother for 2 years, from 12 to 14. I never got the chance to directly talk with the judges, which was illogical as heck since the case was about me. Anyways, I am really happy I can live with my dad now and that I am free from my terrible mother. Middle school, and to some extent, high school. Rarely, there are days when I fantasize in becoming a kid again, but then I quickly remember the amount of balls and pain I had to go through during middle school and high school, and I immediately tell myself, you know what? Adulthood isn't so bad after all. Update. Thank you all for sharing your experiences. Hang in there. Every year I get older, I can't help but think how much more I like myself as a person now than the younger me. Middle school, high school me was a miserable, sad person. Raising a toddler, I see them at the library, at the grocery store, that exasperated look on the parent's face. Love my kids. School-age kids are easier. My husband talks about having another baby. No, I'm done. Braces. Man, that freaking sucked. Top braces in middle school. Top and bottom braces in high school. Retainer full-time in college. Oral surgery a few summers ago. Now my teeth are nice and straight, and I only have to wear my retainer at night. But was it worth it? I like how my teeth look now, but the process was awful. Not to mention the pain, frustration, and destruction of my self-esteem, especially when I was a teenager. For all the technology we have these days, still the best way to fix crooked teeth is to glue bits of metal to them. Come on, medical science. OMG yes. And the dumbest part is if you stop wearing your retainers your teeth will start shifting slowly but surely. I persisted for like 2 years before calling it quits. It's not worth it. People never tell you the retainers forever part. If I knew I'd never have signed up for the years of shark mirth. Working in a bakery at a grocery store, I was basically doing 3 people's worth of work and going back and forth between the 20 degrees Fahrenheit freezer that I could end up being inside of for up to an hour if circumstances decided to screw me, and our 2 400-600 degrees Fahrenheit ovens that were 7 feet tall and caused a fairly sizable gust of air that was so hot I couldn't look into the oven while it was open because it felt like the liquids in my eyes would boil. Helping my husband pay child support for his children from his previous marriage. More than the money, but having to listen every complaint and threat from his ex-wife. Once the last kid turned 18 she called with a new list of demands and I got to say, I don't have to listen to you anymore. I almost orgasmed right then and there. Throwing that girl I broke up with out of my place, that was freaking intense. Quitting smoking was terrible. Working retail on Black Friday, muddling through life without the understanding that I might have mental health problems and basically just think I was horrible at life. For some reason I loved working retail on Black Friday. I was a cashier and loved when large orders came through, so Black Friday was something I looked forward to. Don't apply cause I haven't finished it yet, but I'm currently writing my thesis and I can't wait for it to be over so I can throw it into the trash bin. Hang in there. Hopefully we'll never have to have a tooth extracted from my eye socket again. It wasn't a pleasant experience to have to be awake while a surgeon fished around in my mangled gums and jaw through my maxilla to pull out the molar that was pressing against my eye socket. Stay away from seesaws, kids. Oh. Dealing with my mum. She's a narcissistic, manipulative, mean, demanding BN. 2 years ago I finally had enough and cut her out. Life has never been better for me and I hear she's up to her same old crap and has essentially pushed away anyone who ever cared for her with her bulls. She just lost her latest fiancé due to something she did to his daughter. No idea what, I only get Vought stories from my grandma. And her various prescription pill addictions are starting to affect her health. All I hear is not my freaking problem and it's amazing. The people of our race narcissists applaud you. When I helped family members divide up a relative's estate, they fought and bickered, whereas I just tried to apportion it fairly and without rancor. I never wish to be executor again. Marriage. Small, simple wedding with our 20 closest family members and a private dinner after. Doesn't stop her from fretting about every single little detail. Working at my old job that I was at for 4 years. It was great until the last year when they hired an old high school mutual friend of mine. She is the only person I use the work C for. She was jealous that I was a senior worker with high respect and she just butchered me by talking crap about me constantly to the owner, most about made up crap. She made me extremely depressed. I started stuttering all the time and just wanted to die. My dad was getting remarried and I asked for it off months in advance. My boss made me find people to cover for it off because at that point the co-worker ruined my respect there. And then they talked crap about me trying to get it off. On my last day no one even said goodbye to me. Now I live in a new town with my girlfriend who's in college and I'm an assistant manager at my new job. I'm so much happier. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with people? Glad you survived that. College. I don't think I was ever more miserable than my last semester there. I had finished everything related to my major and so I was just taking random classes I needed for credits and I hated all of them. They gave me an award for academic excellence that semester and I didn't even attend the dinner where they were handed out. I almost felt insulted, like I was being given an award for stabbing myself in an efficient manner. Didn't attend graduation either. I still remember getting in my car after my last exam, thinking thank frick I never have to come back here again. It was pouring rain and the further away I got from the campus the sunnier it became, and I thought that was a perfect metaphor for how I felt. Stabbing myself in an efficient manner. Really accurate way of putting it. Working full time in a job I don't like. I'm now making more and more money as a musician. So, while I can't leave my job completely, I at least have the peace of mind knowing it doesn't have to be my everything ever again. Getting held in the Dresden airport police station for 5 hours because I fricked up my leave date on my residence papers. Our classic Germany. Got to get that paperwork richtig. Caring for my father in his last year of life. I hate that he's gone, but it was taxing on every part of my life beyond what I can accurately express in words. He passed after about a year of complications from a kidney transplant that didn't take. A neat overview would be getting him to all his appointments, sort and feed him meds every few hours, cook, clean, assist him to and from the bathroom, diapers included, track urine output, administer IV antibiotics, help with physical therapy while he was at home. During his hospital stays, when things turned worse, I would sit for long hours with him and watch as he went septic or delirious from lack of a sleep schedule from nurses and doctors taking vitals every couple hours. I arranged the selling of his house and emptied it while buying a home down south that would include an in-law suite. Unfortunately, he never made it to the new house. All while being 900 miles from my fiancée. Stress and depression like I never thought possible. I'm glad I did it. I was able to be there until the very end and even had a chance to say goodbye, but Christ almighty, I'm glad I'll never experience that again. Oh my god. So many. The greatest one I have was rafting the New River Gorge in West Virginia during the peak of rainy season. No tour guides. My best friend at the time decided it would be fun to take us teenagers all along on a fun weekend of rafting and getting slammed. Unfortunately, this said friend was freaking garbage at rafting. Like, on multiple occasions rammed us into undercut rocks that could have easily killed one of us. The last straw was when he steered us into this rock formation called the meat grinder. Just for reference, this rock is pretty easily avoidable most of the time, but he rams us straight freaking into the rock. Once we pulled up to shore, I pretty much booked it right from there. Freaking daunting experience, man. Dude, I'm a pretty experienced rafter, and I almost drowned on that river with a guide. Your friend was an idiot. Sold my house and am now renting a townhouse. Lots of things. Mowing the lawn, raking leaves, shoveling snow, repairing things, putting up Christmas lights, painting the fence. House selling is up there. Feels so good when you're rid of it, especially after the last 10 years or so of market frickery and the original plan was a short-term flip. NICU. I have triplets that were born at 27 weeks. We spent 6 months in the NICU and over 15 months in the hospital before they were all home at once. We had so many crazy things happen from the get-go. Second tied in with the first. Vasectomy. No more kids for me and my wife. 4 is enough. Your post hit close to home. To someone in my family, congrats to you and your significant other for enduring one of the most challenging of life events. I wish for nothing more than enduring health and happiness for you and yours. Signed, Internet Stranger. Watching someone you love go through Alzheimer's, nothing is hard then every time you see them they cannot remember you and so on. My driving test. I failed 3 times before finally passing on my 4th. I was an absolute nervous wreck my last time and figured if I didn't pass after 4 it wasn't meant to be. And wouldn't you know, I've got a clean driving record after 2 years on the road, so I'm not complete crap at driving. Driver's test. Biggest source of anxiety in my teenage years. I even remember when I was a child, I'd watch my mom drive and get nervous knowing that one day I'd have to get tested on operating this huge piece of machinery. Failed my first one before I even left the parking lot. Exited on the left side of the exit way instead of the right. After I passed the second one, I never felt such a weight lifted off of me. When we watched this movie The Miracle of Life in 9th grade health class, it showed the baby crowning and traumatized basically everyone. Losing my parents. My dad passed away unexpectedly in October 2016, while my mom was going through cancer treatment. She followed in June 2017. Husband's parents are already gone. As bad as it sounds, at least we are out of parents now and won't have to go through that particular heartbreak again. Jail. I was only there a few days, but it was a huge relief to be out. It's no fun being pretty much stripped entirely of freedom, and I definitely don't wish to experience that again. I love my daughter, let's get that out of the way, but good heavens, she was a difficult teenager. Every day was a different battle. I remember when she walked across the stage on her graduation day, thinking, that's it, I'm done trying to make her do the right thing. She's an adult now, and she gets to own her decisions in life. She's done a good job over the last 4 years. By the way, it hasn't been easy, and she's learned a lot of things the hard way, but I never want to relive those teenage years, at least not until she has her own daughter and calls me to apologize for being such a little poophead. My liver transplant. I don't recommend one unless you really need one. So eat healthy, don't smoke, don't drink too much, and see a doctor at least once a year. And for frick's sake, wear condoms and don't shoot up. Finally quitting a really crappy job. I finally quit my dishwashing job at a golf course to travel during my gap year and literally cried in my car after my last shift because I was so incredibly relieved I wouldn't have to ever go back to that shithole. Walking through a wet pitch black cave in 30°C 95% humidity with a tripod in one hand and a camera in the other while wearing flip-flops. Having to stay up all night to write a huge paper that I've had weeks to do but blew off until the night before it's due. Gym class. I hated it. The changing in locker rooms will judgy teenage girls, the swimming unit, shudder, and sweating in the middle of the day and feeling gross for the rest of the day. As a guy, all I remember from the locker rooms is the stink of literally fricking everyone using body spray. Those places were like gas chambers and it genuinely got hard to breathe at points. I dated a polyamorous man. He was one of a limited and finite number of people I was seeing. As time went on, I learnt about more and more lovers in his life in different parts of the world. It was emotionally exhausting and I began to wonder if all his non-romantic and non-sexual friends were just partners in waiting. I felt like I was losing my mind at times. There was a point at which I began to wonder if his other local girlfriend was unethical, as things between them reminded me of how people having affairs carry on. Maybe I had just met someone who didn't have a polysaturation point. Maybe for some people, poly means as many as dang possible. I'm glad it's over and I'm glad I no longer have to wait in an ever-growing line of people. Had to endure 8 hours at 5,500 feet in the cloud system of a blizzard. Couldn't set up the tent due to wind. Couldn't find the trail without light. Got frostbite on my toes and fingertips. They survived. And hypothermia. Then in the morning, had to slide down the trail on my butt due to ice buildup from said 8 hours. Both cheeks, lower back, and legs blackened with bruises. I even missed a turn and flew off the trail 8 feet into the creek. Ran into a park employee on the way back and told him about my night. Followed him a mile up the trail to a ranger lodge. Wood stove, hot chocolate, snacks, warm clothes. Have never felt such a pure feeling of relief. Shortly after college I went to a concert in a major metro city and stayed at a friend's house. We walked to her boyfriend's place shortly before dark and took an Uber to the venue. I ended up getting a little too drunk and got separated from the group. I didn't know her boyfriend's address, and my phone was dead. Concert ended. I never seen them. I was lost in an unfamiliar city for around 6 hours before I finally wandered to his place. I had walked about 10 miles and was underdressed for the weather. It was the scariest thing I've ever been through. I carry a phone charger with me always now. Getting married. Planning my wedding was hands down the most stressful year of my life. I'm so glad I'm married and I can't imagine my life without my husband. But frick, it puts you under so much pressure, and it's so expensive. Same. I've told my husband that the next time he and I get married, we're eloping. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.